What if I told you that you've been playing Mo wrong this entire time? This video features the best tips and tricks to help you play the cheesy blind rat, Mo. Alright, so to start off this guide, let's go and talk about Mo's main attack, Shovel Slinger. In his normal form, Mo throws a damaging stone that midway fragments into 4 smaller rocks in a cross pattern. Upon impact with a target or wall, or upon reaching its maximum range, it fragments in 4 smaller rocks in the same pattern. The smaller rock itself deals as much damage as the stone, and the attack deals high damage at point blank range where more rocks can hit the enemy. Now I just want to get this out of the way that this main attack for this brawler is so finicky and so intricate, it's insane. In order to increase your chances of dealing more damage, I would recommend hitting enemies from a straight, horizontal, or vertical direction. Basically, hitting the enemy from a north, south, east, or west location will allow at least 2 fragments to always hit the enemy. Hitting the enemies from a diagonal angle will pretty much never allow you to connect with another fragment, since the directions of the stone splitting will be going in the opposite ways. Now when you're in Mo's basic form, I'd always recommend to people to just keep your distance with him. If you hit the enemy square, more times than not, your shot will only hit the enemy once, since your stones isn't given the chance to split into fragments. This is especially if you are hitting the enemies from a diagonal angle. However, if you keep your distance and allow your stones to split, there is a higher chance that you can deal more damage and hopefully at least hit 2 of your fragments. So when you're playing Mo, what is the distance you should really be standing away from the enemies? Well, I'd recommend at least being from a point blank range or very far away. Being at a mid range is dangerous due to the inconsistencies with Mo's main attack fragments. Sometimes you'll be able to deal 1200 damage and sometimes you'll be able to deal 4800 damage. It all depends on the angle and the distance. But at least if you're at a point blank range, like literally standing next to somebody, you can easily hit all of your fragments and deal the maximum damage you can with Mo. I'd recommend playing around with it yourself, seeing what works, and just go with that. Now what's great about the stone splitting is you can use that to chip down the enemies. If you can manage to keep the enemies far away from you, take advantage of the stone splitting to cover more area and slowly chip the enemy's health down. Granted, every time the stone skips, the range of the fragments traveling decreases, and also the distance between the stone skipping decreases if you're using Mo's skipping stone star power. Oh, look at that tongue twister, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So the question you guys are probably asking me, hey Brent, what can I really do to counter Mo's main attack? I would recommend to never run directly at him. As I stated earlier, the more straight away the angle is between you and Mo, the more damage he will probably be able to deal onto you. Run at him diagonally and stay at a mid-range so you don't give the stones the chance to split before it hits you. But okay, that's gonna be for Mo's main attack. Let's go and talk about his super, Mo's Machine. Mo digs under the ground, making him completely immune to all damage besides status effects and damage applied over time. Upon his destination, Mo changes into his alternate form, which modifies his attack in super. While under the ground, he damages all enemies he goes through on the way. When Mo reaches the destination in a blast radius, he can knock back the enemies in the process. The amount of damage dealt while underground is the same as upon destination. As you can imagine, you're gonna want to use Mo's super to surprise enemies that are hiding behind walls or even over water. Obviously, one of the best things about Mo is his ability to travel under the ground, right? So take advantage of enemies that are low and trying to heal up to get an easy kill. Even using your super to gain pressure up the map after surprising the enemy can relieve stress off of your teammates. What I personally love using Mo's super for is escaping tight situations. You can use your super to escape when under a lot of incoming damage or when you want to retreat in general. This can come in handy when you're low on health and need an escape to survive. You can't get it any better than drilling under the ground where nobody can hit you. As I just said in the description of Mo's super, you can actually knock back enemies when you come up from under the ground, so take advantage of that. You and your teammates can disarm the enemy before they use some sort of attack or super and just completely frustrate them. Even better if you can get the early jump, since the enemies will be in a slight hit stun. Now when aiming Mo's super, I'd recommend aiming to the very tip of your super's attack range. If you can hit an enemy or 2 while you're underground, that's great in itself, right? But if you can hit an enemy on the way and then deal damage to that same enemy when you pop up out of the ground, that is going to be an insane amount of damage you can deal with just 1 super. Okay, next I do want to go ahead and talk about Mo's new attack that he gets with his drill. In his alternate form, Mo continuously drills in a short range that pierces targets and utilizes a large ammo bar, kinda similar to Amber. Each drill is shot at 0.1 second, and if the attack isn't stopped, the attack takes 4 seconds to complete. Now an amateur mistake I see with a lot of Mo players is that they're not auto-aiming immediately right as they submerge from the ground. Even if you aren't within range of the enemy, you can still hold down your auto-aim and get that increased movement speed. If you hold down your auto-aim the entire time you're in your drill form, you will have enough ammo to last the entire duration of your super. Now what's great about Mo's super is you get that increased movement speed, and you can use that for a lot of different scenarios. The increased movement speed will come in handy to get closer to the enemies, run away from the enemies, or just get to wherever you need to go, because Mo moves insanely fast when you hold down that auto-aim. Now when you're using the drill's attack when you're in your alternate form, never aim with it. Since the drill's attack range is super short, you might as well just auto-aim with it so you can hit the nearest enemy when within range. Manually aiming your drill could cost you to end up missing some shots, so just abuse the auto-aim. Now when you're in your alternate form or in your drill form, you will actually be able to use your super again, and this is called a bailout. After 5 seconds, or if Mo uses his super in the alternate form, he jumps off, transforming back into his normal form. Now this bailout super is going to come in handy when you need to maintain control from a distance. If for whatever reason you want to exit your driller form early, just use your super so you can get your long range main attack back. For example, if you use your super just for the sole purpose of traveling to get away from the enemy, then you can immediately exit that driller form and get back to pressuring the enemy from afar. I personally don't use this bailout super a lot because I love getting that increased movement speed buff from Mo's alternate form. Since I love traveling at 2,000 miles per hour in Mo's driller form, I personally don't catch myself using his bailout super too much. The only time I will is if every single enemy outranges Mo and you need his long range main attack to put up a fight against those enemies. But okay, that's gonna be for Mo's super. Let's gonna talk about his gadgets, but the first one I want to talk about is dodgy digging. Mo's super charge rate is increased by 50% for the next 5 seconds. I personally love using this gadget when I'm pushing Mo because it helps me charge up my super faster. If you don't use this gadget, you only charge your super 15% per hit, so that would be equivalent to hitting your main attack 7 times. Being able to cut that charge rate in half will make it easier for you to cause pressure and just carry your team with your super. Now a time where I'd recommend using this gadget is in the beginning of the match or at that first engagement with an enemy. Now I typically would recommend to use this gadget at the very start of the match, but most of the time you aren't spawning near the enemies, so by using the gadget at the first engagement will hopefully give you that boost to get you your super, and better yet, win that first engagement so you can lock down that lane for your team. Now when you're playing Mo, it's kinda great when you use this gadget because it's kinda hard for the enemies to see when you have the gadget active. Usually with other brawlers, you would be able to see when they have their gadget queued up and ready to be used, but with Mo, there is no gadget symbol for anybody on the map to really see that you have your gadget activated. The only way you can tell the gadget is active is that there are those little arrows that pop up around Mo. This might confuse amateur players since they might think of it like some sort of speed buff from the speed gear, but obviously that only works in bushes, right? Now my advice for you to counter this gadget is just stay the hell away from Mo. As soon as you notice Mo has those little arrows around him indicating that his gadget is active, you want to avoid him for the next 5 seconds. Stay out of his attack range and make sure he doesn't hit you so he boosts his supercharge rate. But okay, that's gonna be it for his first gadget. Let's go and talk about his second gadget, Rat Race. Mo charges forward 2 tiles in the direction he aims in that alternate form. He destroys obstacles he charges into and knocks back enemies in his path. I also love using this gadget because of the versatility with it. For example, you can use this gadget to dash closer to the enemies after popping up out of the ground in case you miss initially. You can even use it to dash away from the enemies if you think you might die after using your super onto a group of enemies. Now the thing that I totally forgot about when I was recording my gameplay but is very useful with Mo is breaking obstacles. If you need to bust through a wall to try and escape the enemies, then you can use the gadget and destroy the wall in order to escape. You can basically treat this gadget kinda like Stu's breakthrough gadget, except that the obstacle won't shoot out debris in the direction you destroy the obstacle in. Now a time where I like using this gadget is when I can combine it with Mo's super. When you connect with your super, you should immediately use your gadget directly into the enemy. Not only will the enemy be in a slight hit stun from the knockback that the drill causes, but they will be in another hit stun from the gadget. This will give you and your teammates even more time to take down your target. But okay, that's gonna be for Mo's gadgets. Let's go and talk about his star powers, but the first one I want to talk about is skipping stones. This star power allows Mo's attacks in the normal form to explode 3 times instead instead of just 2 times. In my personal opinion, and I think some of the other semi-pro and pro players can agree, but I think this is the superior star power with Mo. The reason why this star power is better is because of the additional stone that shoots out more fragments. Granted, it doesn't extend your attack range, but going back to what I explained earlier about Mo's main attack, this would make those short to mid-range engagements less grueling. Having this star power will allow the stones to split earlier, so your chances of connecting flush onto the enemy from a mid-range is less likely. This will increase the odds of the stone splitting and dealing more damage at the right time, which is what you want. All in all, what I'm just trying to say is that with this star power, you can deal more consistent damage with Mo's main attack. Something I discussed earlier was the inconsistencies with Mo's main attack, right? It's very particular in the way you need to hit the enemy to deal more damage, which is kind of annoying sometimes. But with an additional skip of the stone splitting thanks to this star power, this could help you chip away at the enemies much easier or just deal more consistent damage from the mid-range. But okay, that's gonna be it for his first star power. Let's go and talk about his second star power, speeding ticket. This star power increases Mo's movement speed in the alternate form while drilling underground. Now this star power is going to be great to surprise those enemies when you are using your super onto them. I've seen a good amount of pros or semi-pros using this star power because it just allows them to get the jump on the enemies much quicker. It not only gives the enemies less time to get out of the path of the drill when it's underground, but more importantly, it gives them less time to escape the radius of when the drill submerges. But I'm going to be 100% straight with you guys, you can't go wrong with either of these star powers. I would recommend the skipping stone star power to those players out there that want more consistent damage with Mo's main attack, mostly because it can be frustrating sometimes getting bursted down and not dealing the damage you think you should be doing. However, I would recommend the speeding ticket star power to those players that really want to maximize their potential with Mo's super. Using the drill is the best part of Mo's kit, and running this star power will help you carry your team and dominate the enemies with your super. So the recommended build I suggest you guys use with Mo is running the dodgy digging gadget, the skipping stone star power. The first gear I'm going to recommend is going to be the damage gear. Like I said throughout this entire video, the inconsistencies with Mo's main attack damage is pretty terrible, so if you can do the extra damage with it whenever you can, hey, you gotta take it. And then the other gear I'm going to recommend is going to be the shield gear. You can't go wrong with getting that additional shield, especially when you're in his basic form, so I definitely recommend going with the shield gear. Well, anyway guys, if you guys enjoyed that brawler guide, I highly recommend go check out this brawler guide right here.